Cadet Lee Hanna stepped off the transport shuttle and looked around the massive space station. Everything was so clean and bright that it hurt her eyes. She had never seen anything like Kepler 7 station before. The walls were made of some kind of metal that seemed to glow from the inside, and the ceiling was so high she could barely see it. Other cadets walked past her, but they were not human. Some looked like tall, thin people made of silver light. Others were like walking crystals that made musical sounds when they moved. There were some that looked like floating clouds of gas, and others that looked like giant frogs walking on 2 legs. All of them stared at her. None of them looked friendly. Hannah picked up her bag and followed the signs to the main hall. Her uniform was plain and gray, made on Earth from simple materials. Everyone else wore fancy clothes with bright colors and strange patterns. She felt like a dirty rock in a room full of jewels. The main hall was huge. Thousands of cadets stood in neat rows, talking in languages that sounded like music or wind or breaking glass. When Hannah walked to her assigned spot, the talking stopped. Everyone turned to look at the human girl. She kept her face calm, but inside she felt nervous. Back on Earth, the recruiters had told her she was special. They said she was one of only 3 humans ever accepted into the Galactic Naval Academy. They said it was a great honor. But standing here now, surrounded by aliens who looked at her like she was some kind of dangerous animal, it did not feel like an honor at all. A voice spoke from the front of the hall. It sounded like someone singing, but the words were in standard galactic that she could understand. "Welcome, cadets, to your final assignment." The speaker was Admiral Veltar, one of the Altarian people. He was 9 feet tall with skin that looked like liquid silver and wings that were so thin they were almost invisible. His people were known across the galaxy for being wise and peaceful. "You will be divided into squadrons," Admiral Veltar continued. "Each squadron will have 5 members from different worlds. This is to teach you how to work together with other species." Hannah waited as names were called. Finally she heard, "Squadron 7, Leader Kefri of Altair Prime, Vex of the Vorthak Collective, Thrum of Kethmar, Jorik of Nebula Station, and Lee Hanna of Earth." For faces turned toward her. None of them looked happy. Kefri was another Altarian, but younger than the Admiral. His silver skin seemed to wrinkle with disgust when he saw her. Vex was a Vorthak, one of the crystal people. His body was made of what looked like blue glass, and when he saw Hannah, he made a sound like breaking dishes. Thrum was a Kethmari, one of the frog people. He had big round eyes that blinked once, then looked away as if she was not worth his time. "Earth," Kefri said, and the way he said it made it sound like a curse word. "They gave us a Deathworlder." Hannah knew what that meant. Earth was classified as a Class XI death world by the Galactic Council. That meant it was a planet where almost everything was trying to kill you. The weather could kill you. The animals could kill you. Even some of the plants could kill you. Most aliens thought that anyone who came from such a place must be savage and stupid. "Your mission," Admiral Veltar announced, "is a reconnaissance patrol in the outer rim sectors. You will investigate reports of unusual activity near the abandoned mining colonies in the Helix Nebula. The mission should take 72 standard hours. You leave in 6 hours." After the assembly, Squadron 7 gathered in a small meeting room. Kefri sat at the head of the table like he owned it. The others sat as far from Hannah as possible. "Let me make something clear," Kefri said, looking directly at Hannah. "I am the squadron leader. You will do exactly what I tell you to do. This is a delicate mission that requires intelligence and skill. Your job is to stay out of the way and try not to get us all killed." Vex made his glass-breaking sound again. "I do not understand why the Academy wastes resources on primitive species. Humans have barely left their own solar system. What could they possibly contribute to a civilized military operation?" Thrum just stared at the table and said nothing. "I can do my job," Hannah said quietly. Her voice was steady, but inside she felt angry and hurt. "Your job," Kefri said, "is whatever I say it is. And right now, I say it is to be quiet and learn from your betters." The meeting continued for another hour. They discussed their ship, the Meridian's Edge, and their route to the target system. They talked about sensor sweeps and communication protocols and emergency procedures. But they talked around Hannah, not to her, as if she was not really there. When the meeting ended, Hannah walked alone to her assigned quarters. The room was small but clean, with a bed and a desk and a small window that showed the stars. She sat on the bed and looked out at the endless darkness of space. She thought about home, about Earth with its blue skies and dangerous storms and beautiful, deadly oceans. She thought about her family and friends who had believed in her. They had told her to make them proud, to show the galaxy what humans could do. But sitting here now, rejected by her own squadron before the mission had even begun, she wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. The first 3 days aboard the Meridian's Edge were the longest of Kim Dae-ho's life. Squadron leader Kefri had made it very clear what her job was. Stay out of the way and do whatever nobody else wanted to do. While the others sat at the main control stations, Dae-ho was sent to check the cargo bay for loose equipment. While they planned their approach to the target system, she was told to clean the air filters. While they ate their meals together and talked about strategy, she ate alone in the maintenance section. The ship was beautiful, much more advanced than anything humans had ever built. The walls were smooth and white, and the controls responded to touch and thought. Everything worked perfectly, which made Dae-ho nervous. On Earth, if something worked too well, it usually meant it was about to break. On the 3rd day, Vex found her in the engine room. The crystal being made his usual breaking glass sound when he saw her. Deathworlder, he said, "Why do you waste time checking systems that cannot fail? These engines are Vorthack design. They are perfect." Dae-ho looked up from the panel she was examining. "On Earth we have a saying, trust but verify. Your primitive world has taught you to doubt superior technology," Vex replied. "This is why your species will never advance beyond basic space travel." After he left, Dae-ho continued her work. She found 3 minor problems that the ship's computer had not detected. A loose connection in the backup power system, a small crack in one of the coolant lines, and a sensor that was giving readings that were just slightly off. None of them were dangerous yet, but they could become problems later. She fixed them all without telling anyone. On the 4th day, they dropped out of hyperspace near the Helix Nebula. The target system looked normal on the long-range sensors. 3 rocky planets orbited a yellow star, and there were several large asteroids where the mining colonies had been built. "Beginning sensor sweep," announced Thrum from a station. His big frog eyes were focused on his screens. "I am detecting the mining stations, but something is wrong." Kefri leaned over Thrum's shoulder. "Define wrong." "The stations are not sending any signals. No power readings, no life signs, no automated systems. They appear to be completely dead." Vex made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. "Pirates often disable communications to prevent calls for help. This is expected." But as they moved closer, it became clear that this was not the work of ordinary pirates. Colony Station Echo 9 had been completely destroyed. What was left of it drifted in space like broken toys. The other stations were the same, twisted metal and shattered rock floating in neat, organized patterns. Those burned patterns. Dae-ho sat quietly from her position near the back of the bridge. "They're too clean, too systematic. Did someone ask for your opinion?" Kefri snapped. But Thrum was looking at the same data. His webbed fingers moved quickly over his controls. "The human is correct. These are military-grade plasma weapons. The destruction was methodical, precise. This was not random piracy." They moved closer to investigate the debris field. Pieces of the mining station floated past their ship like metallic snow. Some pieces had writing on them in several different languages. Some had pictures of families or friends. These had been people's homes. "Look at this," Thrum said, his voice becoming worried. "The living quarters were destroyed first, then the communication arrays, then the power systems. Someone wanted to make sure no one could escape or call for help." Dae-ho felt cold inside her chest. On Earth, when predators hunted in packs, they always cut off escape routes first. The ship's computer suddenly began making loud warning sounds. Red lights flashed all over the bridge. Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace. The computer announced in its calm, pleasant voice. 7 ships, configuration unknown, approaching at high speed. On the main screen, 7 dark shapes appeared against the stars. They were not like any ships Deho had ever seen. They looked organic, like giant sea creatures made of black metal. Sharp edges stuck out from their hulls like teeth or claws. "Zarathi," whispered Kefri, and his silver skin turned almost white. "We need to run. We need to run right now." But it was too late. The alien ships moved impossibly fast, surrounding the Meridian's edge like wolves surrounding a wounded deer. Up close, they were even more terrifying. Weapons that looked like giant claws extended from their hulls. Strange symbols were carved into their armor. "Incoming transmission," the computer said, the main screen filled with the image of something from a nightmare. The creature had the head of a crocodile and the body of a man, but 3 times larger than any human. Its teeth were as long as knives, and its eyes glowed red in the darkness. When it spoke, its voice sounded like stones grinding together. "Soft meat," it said in broken Standard Galactic. "Surrender now. Make it easy. We promise quick death for some. Others we keep for hunting." Vex began making high-pitched sounds like glass breaking. Thrum had pulled his head and arms into his shell. Kefri sat frozen in his chair, staring at the screen in pure terror. Only Deho remained calm. She looked at the terrible face on the screen and felt something her squad mates could not understand. She felt recognition. These were predators. But so was she. The Zarathi ships attached to the Meridian's edge like giant metal spiders. Park Minho heard the sound of cutting tools working on the hull. The aliens were coming inside. "They're boarding us," Kefri said, his voice shaking. He tried to work the controls, but his silver hands were trembling too much. "The engines won't start. They've done something to our power systems." Vex was making terrible sounds, like someone breaking 100 wine glasses at once. Cracks were appearing all over his crystal body. "We are all going to die," he kept saying. "We are all going to die." Thrum had pulled completely into his shell. Only his big round eyes were visible, and they were wide with fear. The ship's lights flickered and went out. Emergency lighting cast everything in red shadows. Minho could hear heavy footsteps in the corridors outside the bridge. The Zarathi were inside. "Hide," whispered Kefri. "Maybe if we hide, they won't find us." But Minho knew that was stupid. These were hunters. Predators always found their prey. The bridge doors exploded inward with shower of sparks and twisted metal. 3 Zarathi warriors stepped through the smoke. They were even more horrible in person than on the screen. 8 feet tall, covered in thick scales like armor, with claws that could cut through steel. Their red eyes swept the bridge, looking for targets. The first one saw Kefri trying to hide behind his chair. It made a sound like a happy growl, and reached out with claws as long as kitchen knives. "Soft silver meat," it rumbled. "Good for eating," Kefri screamed. The second Zarathi found Vex cowering in the corner. It picked up the crystal being like he was made of fragile glass. More cracks appeared in Vex's body. "Pretty rock thing," the alien said. "Make good decoration after we eat the soft parts." The third Zarathi was looking for more prey. Its nose twitched as it smelled the air. It could smell fear, and fear made the hunt more exciting. Minho watched from her position near the back wall. She was not hiding exactly, but she was not making herself obvious either. She was waiting. The lead Zarathi noticed Thrum's shell in the corner. It walked over and tapped the hard surface with one claw. "Turtle thing," it said. "We crack shell. Soft meat inside always tastes better." That was when Minho decided to move. She did not run toward the exit like her training said to do. She did not try to find a weapon or call for help. Instead, she walked calmly into the center of the bridge where all 3 Zarathi could see her clearly. "Let them go," she said quietly. The aliens turned to look at her. For a moment, they seemed confused. Here was prey that was not running or hiding or begging. Here was something small and weak that was giving them orders. The lead Zarathi laughed, a sound like rocks falling down a mountain. "Little soft thing thinks it can command us. We eat the brave ones first. They taste better when they fight." But something strange happened when the Zarathi got close enough to smell her properly. The lead hunter stopped walking. Its red eyes narrowed. Its claws, which had been extended for killing, slowly retracted. Minho stood perfectly still. Her breathing was slow and steady. Her heart rate had not increased. She showed no signs of fear or panic. To the Zarathi, this was wrong. All prey showed fear. That was what made them prey. "You smell wrong," the lead hunter said, confusion in its grinding voice. "I smell like home," Minho replied calmly. The other Zarathi had stopped what they were doing. They were all staring at the small human female, who should have been terrified but was not. Something deep in their predator brains was sending warning signals they had never felt before. Minho took a step forward. The three Zarathi took a step back. "Earth," she said simply. "Do you know what Earth is?" The lead hunter's scales rippled. It did know. Every predator species in the galaxy knew about the Deathworlds. They were places where the hunting was so dangerous that even apex predators could become prey. "Deathworld," it whispered. "Class 12, Minho confirmed. Everything on my planet tries to kill everything else. The weather kills. The plants kill. The smallest insects carry poison that can drop a creature your size in seconds. I learned to walk on ground where each step might be my last." She took another step forward. The Zarathi took another step back. "You think you're hunters," she continued, her voice still calm and quiet. "But you've never hunted on a world where you are also being hunted by everything around you. You've never had to sleep with one eye open because the thing that wants to eat you might be smaller than your thumb." The lead Zarathi's breathing was becoming faster. Its pack instincts were screaming warnings. This was not prey. This was something more dangerous than they were. "You made a mistake coming here," Minho said, and her voice carried a promise that made all three aliens step backward toward the broken doorway. For the first time in their lives, the Zarathi felt what their prey had always felt. They felt fear. Choi Su-jin stood in the corridor outside the bridge, watching the Zarathi pack leader approach. Behind her, she could hear her squad mates whimpering in terror. The alien predator was twice her height and covered in scales that looked like black armor. Its claws scraped against the metal walls as it walked, leaving deep scratches in the reinforced steel. But Su-jin did not move. She did not run or hide or call for help. She stood in the middle of the corridor with her feet planted shoulder-width apart, her hands relaxed at her sides, and her eyes locked on the creature's red gaze. The Zarathi stopped walking. Something was wrong. In a million years of hunting, the pack leader had never seen prey act like this. All living things ran when they saw death coming. Even other predators showed some sign of respect or caution. But this small creature just stood there like it owned the space around it. "Move," the Zarathi growled, showing teeth as long as daggers. "Or we make moving hurt very much." "No," Su-jin said simply. The word hung in the recycled air between them. Other Zarathi had gathered behind their leader, filling the corridor with their massive forms. 7 of the deadliest hunters in the galaxy, and none of them moved forward. The pack leader's nostrils flared, trying to understand what was smelling. Fear had a particular scent, sharp and sour. All prey smelled of fear. But this human smelled of something else entirely. Something that made the Zarathi's ancient instincts scream warnings it had never heard before. "You smell like death," the pack leader said, confusion making its voice uncertain. "I smell like home," Su-jin replied. "Do you know what that means?" She began to walk forward. Not quickly, not aggressively, just a steady, purposeful advance. The pack leader found itself stepping backward, without meaning to. "Earth," she continued, her voice calm and conversational, "is not like other worlds. Most planets in the galaxy are peaceful, safe. The biggest danger might be bad weather or maybe 1 or 2 predator species that the local people learn to avoid." Another step forward, another step back from the Zarathi. "My world is different. On Earth, everything is trying to kill you all the time. The storms can flatten entire cities. The ground can split open and swallow you. The oceans have creatures bigger than your ships that hunt in packs just like you do." The pack leader's scales were rippling with nervous energy. Behind it, the other Zarathi were making low, whining sounds. These were noises they had never made before, sounds that meant something they did not understand. "The plants can kill you," Su-jin said, still walking forward. "Some of them look beautiful and smell sweet, But if you touch them, you die in minutes. The insects carry diseases that eat you from the inside. Even the bacteria in the water can dissolve your bones. The Zarathi pack was now pressed against a far-walled corridor. 7 apex predators, each one capable of tearing apart a dozen soldiers, were trying to get away from one small human female. And the animals, Sue Jean continued, a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Oh, the animals are wonderful. We have spiders that can kill you with one bite, snakes that can swallow creatures twice your size, bears that weigh more than your entire pack, and can run faster than your ships can fly in atmosphere. The pack leader was breathing heavily now, its red eyes wide with something it had never experienced before. Pure, primal terror. But do you know the best part? Sue Jean asked. She was now close enough to reach out and touch the lead Zarathi, though she kept her hands at her sides. Humans are not even the top predator on our world. We're somewhere in the middle. We survive because we learn to be more dangerous than the things trying to eat us. That was when the pack leader understood. This creature was not prey. It was not even a predator in the normal sense. It was something that had been forged in evolutionary fire, shaped by millions of years of surviving on a world where everything was designed to kill. We learned to hunt the hunters, Sue Jean said quietly. We learned to track things that were tracking us. We learned to kill creatures that were bigger, stronger, and faster than we were. We learned to do it with rocks and sticks and our bare hands. The lead Zarathi made a sound like a wounded animal. Its pack instincts, refined over millions of years of successful hunting, were telling it to run, to get as far away from this small, calm human as possible. You hunt for sport, Sue Jean said. You hunt because it's fun, because you're bigger and stronger than your prey. We hunt because if we don't, we die. Every human child learns to kill before they learn to read. She tilted her head slightly, like she was listening to something far away. I can hear your heart beating, she said softly. It's beating very fast. You're afraid. The pack leader's nerve finally broke. It turned and ran, its claws scrambling for purchase on the smooth floor. The other Zarathi followed, their massive forms squeezing through doorways in their panic to escape. Sue Jean listened to their retreating footsteps and smiled. Young So-young sat in the debriefing room 3 days later, watching her former squad mates stare at her with completely different eyes. The rescue ships had found them drifting in space, all systems intact, crew unharmed. The Zarathi battle pack had simply vanished, leaving no trace except for claw marks on the walls. Admiral Veltar entered the room, his silver wings folding behind him as he took his seat. His usually calm expression showed something So-young had never seen before, respect mixed with a kind of nervous awareness. Report, the Admiral said simply. Kefri spoke first, his voice quiet and uncertain. The Zarathi boarded our ship. 7 warriors. They had us completely trapped. He paused, looking at So-young. Then Cadet Jung faced him alone. They ran away. Zarathi do not run away, Admiral Veltar said carefully. They are apex predators. They have never retreated from any prey species in recorded galactic history. They ran from her, Vex said. His crystal body had been repaired, but there were still visible cracks where the stress fractures had been. I watched it happen. 7 of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy, and they fled like frightened children. Thrum nodded his large head. She did not threaten them. She did not attack them. She simply stood there and talked to them about her home world. Within minutes, they were backing away in terror. Admiral Veltar turned his attention to So-young. What did you say to them? I told them about Earth, she answered simply. About what it's really like to live on a death world. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated a holographic display that showed galactic maps and military reports. What I am about to tell you is classified information, he said. The Zarathi problem is much worse than the public knows. The display showed red dots across dozens of star systems. Each dot represented an attack, a colony destroyed, a ship that had simply vanished. They have been pushing deeper into civilized space for the past 5 years, the Admiral continued. Our standard military tactics are useless against them. They think like predators, They hunt in packs, and they view all other species as prey. Every engagement has ended the same way. Total victory for the Zorathi. He touched the control, and the display zoomed in on the Outer Rim territories. 43 colonies destroyed, over 2 million casualties. And until today, no one had ever made them retreat. Kefri shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Sir, we owe Cadet Jung an apology. We treated her poorly because she came from a death world. We thought that made her lesser. Primitive, Vex added, his crystal form chiming softly. We thought her species was backward and violent. You were not wrong about the violent part, So Young said with a slight smile. But you misunderstood what that means. Violence on Earth is not about cruelty or evil. It's about survival. Every human child learns to recognize predators and how to respond to them. Admiral Veltar leaned forward. Explain. Most species in the galaxy evolved on peaceful worlds, So Young said. When you meet a predator, your instinct is to freeze or flee or try to negotiate. Those are good responses when you're dealing with intelligent beings who might be reasoned with. She stood up and walked to the holographic display. But Zorathi are not intelligent beings having a bad day. They are predators, pure and simple. They cannot be reasoned with or negotiated with. They only understand one thing, the food chain. She touched one of the red dots on the map. When I faced them, I did not act like prey. I acted like something higher up the food chain than they were. And for the first time in their lives, they felt what it was like to be prey themselves. But how? Thrum asked, his big eyes blinking slowly. You are much smaller than they are. You had no weapons. I had something better, So Young replied. I had the certainty of someone who had survived worse things than them. On Earth, a Zorathi would be dangerous. Yes, but it would not be the most dangerous thing I might meet in a single day. Admiral Veltar deactivated the display and looked directly at her. Cadet Jung So Young, you are hereby promoted to squadron leader with immediate effect. Your new assignment is to train our military forces in anti-predator psychology and tactics. Kefri, Vex, and Thrum all saluted her. The gesture looked strange coming from beings who had treated her like dirt just a week ago. There's something else, the Admiral added. Earth has been reclassified. You are no longer considered a primitive species, seeking charity admission to the Academy. He smiled, an expression that looked unusual on his silver features. Earth is now classified as a strategic defense partner. When the monsters come out of the dark between stars, the galaxy needs people who learn to be monsters first. So Young nodded and looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Zorathi pack was probably still running, still trying to understand what had happened to them. They had met something they thought was prey and discovered it was a predator they could not comprehend. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but it was also full of dangers, and now it had guardians who understood both.